Yeah, I love a mind that can think, can do what it's naturally designed to do, and takes the time to consider it. And then, of course, he has the consideration to let it out, get it out to us too. By the way, if you're interested in Thomas Sheridan, you should be. You can find him at Thomas Sheridan Arts. Is it .com, Indy?
I don't know if it's .com, but that should get them there.
Yeah, right. It's Sheuradon, I think. I think it's not a Sheraton, it's a Sheridan.
Oh, okay.
And I was listening to him the other day, and he came up with a really cool conceptualization that I think we can use when we're thinking of the media and how the media affects our beliefs. Affects our beliefs. That's an understatement. Anyway, he said that actually his conceptualization comes off of the Matrix movie. Remember in the Matrix movie, everybody knows this, the most famous scene is when Morpheus offers Neo a choice between the blue pill and the red pill. Now the blue pill, he tells Neo that the blue pill will he'll wake up and everything will be normal, which means, you can go back into the Matrix and live your life out, not knowing what's going on. Or you can take the red pill. Now the red pill is the hardcore information, and then we start concepts like going down the rabbit hole, finding out how deep this whole thing goes, and actually what we would call, like discovering, what's going on the planet. That's the red pill. But Thomas birthed the idea of the purple pill. Now, I'm going to see if I can do his characterization justice. He said that when movements start out, really grassroots movement, and the one I can think of was the black, I wouldn't call it a black power movement, but the black freedom movement, with Rosa Parks and that whole situation. Things start off pure and angry and really focused on a purpose, but over time it becomes watered down, like from Malcolm X to Eldridge Cleaver, and then the next thing you hear is strong, I don't know, he's one of my gurus, Martin Luther King, but then it degenerates into Jesse Jackson, and I can never remember the name of the senator who's Reverend blah 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 blah, but it gets way off track and it becomes watered down, and what started out as an outrage, a social injustice that needed to be changed, it gets corrupted and watered down to be, it's a movement, but are these guys really out for this or for their, it gets really purple pill. I mean, it's still there, it still exists, but it's not as potent, it's not as pure, it's not as hard hitting. There's types of music that happens with. I think the original rap music was really refreshing and really a good expression of true feelings, but it immediately became corrupted, and we split into branches like, I guess, the really hardcore, women-hating, abusing kind of rap music, and the other side goes more pop, and you get MC Hammer or something. So, I think this happens just naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably also...
And it's always corrupted to become that. It starts out often with really great intentions until the corruption sets in.
The corruption sets in, yeah. I don't know whether you guys would remember, but I don't know, several podcasts back, I guess it was the first or second podcast we did, I talked about the archons. and how the archons are kind of a disease that inflicts society and us right now. And it causes, since it lacks any creativity in itself, it causes what humans create, the sincere products of humans and the earth, and corrupts it and twists it around. And one analogy I make in my book is an apple. You know, an apple in its pure form is a great snack. It's very healthy. It's biodegradable. Its packaging is just perfect. It's from nature. Well, the archons, or the archons influenced humans, would see this snack and say, well, that's great. I'm going to make a chocolate candy bar. And I'm going to make it in a factory so it's always the same sweetness. And I'm going to wrap it in a wrapper that's dipped in petroleum because I always like to, corrupt things. I'm going to also put so much sugar in there it's going to rot your teeth out, but it's going to be a preferable snack for most because it's sweeter and dependable. And I've seen apples in health diets, but I've never seen a candy bar in any kind of a health diet. So it's kind of a corruptible thing, and I think that's their natural tendency when they see real, sincere outpourings, when they see a real grassroots expression of human consciousness. I think their first instinct is corrupt it and make it into the purple pill. It's kind of a watered down, kind of a
easily controllable version.
Vanilla, kind of tasteless.
Yeah. It's like now, instead of that delicious chunk of rye bread with seeds and all you're left with is that white bread that's just so full of air you can squeeze it and shape it into a ball. No taste.
Right, no flavor.
Maybe that's a silly analogy, but
no meaning.
It's washed out.
So I think we need to watch for this in the media, especially when it comes to beliefs and ideas that aren't totally controlled. So, an idea like GMO foods. Now, GMO foods, if you followed the research at all, you realize that it has nothing to do with feeding Africans. It has nothing to do with, increasing the output. Actually, it has everything to do with depleting the land, putting active DNA and RNA into your body. And actually, it's part of the eugenics agenda. I don't even think you have to go very deep to find research on the harmfulness of the GMOs, even though it's been, it's information that certainly has been disputed by the industry, and the GMO juggernaut just keeps going along. I mean, even countries like Hungary that refuse to allow them in their country, the EU has given them major pushback because it's part of the EU's agenda to have everybody on these GM foods. Now, to me, that whole subject is an outrage. The fact that you would feel free to manipulate what's going into my body is an outrage, especially since some people, many people, think that it has really major ongoing consequences to me, to my progeny, and to their progeny if they're lucky enough to ever come into being. So we've got this outrage sitting there. Now let's think about how the media could turn that into the purple pill. And I see it happening all the time. Now, rather than denying, let's say, the harmful effects of GMOs, now we can have discussions about it. And in that discussion, we can have two sides of a polite conversation where I'm taking the side of the anti-GMO, and the other guy's taking the side of pro, and we can have a discussion back and forth. Actually, I watched a video the other day that was recommended by Red Ice Radio, I think, and it was a young man who had made a documentary on GMOs, and he looked at both sides of the issue and gave them both coverage. And I think under normal conditions, that might be good, but the GMO is really an outrage, and I don't think it can be a discussion topic for me unless they take it out of my food chain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if people realize it's in like 70% of any packaged food you buy on your grocery store shelf. I don't know if people realize how insidious it is, how it's in like almost everything.
Yeah, I think it was 85%. I think it's 70% of the whole American food diet.
Right. So I mean, if you're a working person and you don't have time to prepare everything that you eat from scratch, chances are you're buying stuff in the grocery store that has genetically modified organisms in them that are hurting you. Yeah. I'm outraged. What can I say?
Well, I think that's the important takeaway here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can allow these things to be discussion topics until they take it out of your diet. I mean, we can have a discussion topic for 20 years until we're all standing around with cancerous tissues exploding all over our bodies, the birth rate drastically low, and I don't know what else could happen with GMOs. But I'd be really willing to discuss it and get all the findings out in the open so that we can know the truth about this stuff.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a politically correct discussion.
Well, it can't be a politically correct discussion until they stop putting it in the food.
Right.
So you have to what I'm saying is you have to maintain your outrage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't allow the purple pill media to dampen down your outrage. You have to stay on task. And yes, it's nice to hear both sides. And yes, it's nice to really find the truth. But you have to do it after you take it out of my diet. That's my point.
Yeah.
I guess I've said it about 16 times.
You did.
And that's
And and here's another tactic that they use in the purple pill media. They present both sides of the equation, but the one that they're promoting and pushing, they interview someone that's immediately discredited by virtue of the setting they put them in or their circumstance in life, and they show them next to someone that they purposefully make seem more credible, like some scientist.
right.
Whereas the guy that's telling the truth is somebody who's living totally meagerly because they can't afford anything more than a trailer in the middle of the desert.
Right.
And they're sitting on a cardboard box.
Well, we might as well tell that whole story. We stumbled upon a video. We're interested in anything strange and outside the ordinary, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you are too. But we stumbled on this series of videos about, was the moon landing true? Did the moon landing actually happen? Here's what Jay Weidner says about Kubrick. What's really going on? And you can find videos that are pretty convincing that can dispute the actual happening. Now, to me, it's an outrage. If it really didn't happen, that should be an outrage because there was a lot of money put into that. And what happened to the money? It was an effort, and were we purposely deceived? I was alive. I got the paper that day. Were we purposely deceived by the government?